Hi everybody. So it's been a while since I did a little how-to video for you, and I thought I get this question asked quite a few times. So how do we make our embellishments look rusty? And I know I've covered, let me just take this off. I know I've covered this in some Facebook lives before, but I thought let's go into a little bit more detail and show you how you can make, well, just about anything or any material look rusty using my chalky acrylic paints and my metallic acrylic paints. So the first time I did this was before we had the chalky paints. So this is something a little bit different, and I'm going to do it on a few different surfaces. So we've obviously got some of my greyboard there, got lots of die cuts here, and we've got some air dry clay from one of the Phill molds there. And it's one of the easiest things in the world to do, and I absolutely love the rusty effect. And I love the fact that everything that we've already bought, like dyes, you can literally make cardstock look like a rusty embellishment. And for me personally, the fact that we can achieve different results just on cardstock is just amazing, because we buy the dyes anyway because we love them, and we're obviously buying them with the intention of cutting them in cardstock. But then when you team it up with my Flawless Media products, you've then got another way to achieve a different result, and I just think that's fabulous. So I won't go through all this yet, I'll move it to one side. I'll quickly just show you the things that you will need for this to be able to do this. So I've got the chalky paints here. Now you don't need them all, but I will just show you all the chalky paints in their entirety. So remember, my paints these are the chalky effect ones, as I said, but they are acrylic paints, which means you can do more with them. They're not just bog standard paints that you would use for watercolouring, for example, even though you can watercolour with these. They are acrylic, so the quality is absolutely phenomenal. And that is the current colour palette. There are more coming this year. So 2023, there will be more colours in the chalky acrylic paints coming. So now is the time to get stocked up on these. And there are 3 that I'm going to take from this. And we're going to do a traditional rusty effect. So I'm not going to add patina to it. We're just going to do rust. And I'm going to take the Dreamy Chocolate. And I'm also going to take the Roses Are Red. And then I'm also going to take the Perfectly Pumpkin. So straight away, if you put these 3 colours together, you think, yeah, I can see where he's going with that. That's kind of like a base for your rusty effect, your rusty colours. So I'll just put these to one side. And as I said a couple of seconds ago, these were released after I've done the rust effect on the Facebook Live before. So this is something a little bit different for those of you that have seen it before. And then we're also going to combine the chalky paints with a couple of the metallic paints. I'm not very good at turning that over. I'm turning it over because that shows you the current colours in the metallic acrylic paints. And again, I mean, the colours are just absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? But these are 2 completely different finishes, but they work fabulously well together. So I'm not going to use the copper. We're going to use the vintage gold. Yeah, there are 2 golds currently. Well, let me just show you. There are 2 golds currently in the metallic paints. There is gold, which is the one on my left, and there is vintage gold. So gold, you can see, is a brighter gold, more traditional, I would say, and what you would think gold would look like. But the vintage gold has a slight coppery tint to it, so that is perfect for that. And we're also going to take the gunmetal. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely swear by the gunmetal paint. Gunmetal is just amazing. It's not black, even though it looks black in there. It's a very, very dark gunmetal grey, as in the name. So we've now got 5 different paints here. 3 from the chalky and 2 from the metallics. I'm just going to put these back on my shelf so they don't get in my way. The other thing to tell you while I'm just faffing getting these ready is, if you like the effects that I'm going to create today, as in rust, you can absolutely create the same effects using 3 or 4 or 5 of your favourite colours. So if you wanted to create a textured pinks and purples, you absolutely could do that. Just change the colours of the paint. So who says rust has to be rust coloured? It can be, it's just texture at the end of the day. And then the other thing I'm going to show you is the texture mediums. So currently in the texture mediums we have two. We have the regular texture medium, which is the one that would, you can mix any of the paints with this and you will get a translucent kind of glossy effect, stained glass window look, if you like, once it dries, because it's translucent. And then we have the gritty texture medium, and it's the gritty texture medium that we're going to use today. So the gritty one, and you know I absolutely love this product. It's amazing. What you can do with it is just amazing. So when I was sourcing this, when I was trying to get the formula right for this, I wanted a very, very fine grit in it. So I've called it gritty, and I should have called it fine grit really, because that's what it is. But if I just show you that, you won't actually see that there's any grit in there. And that's exactly what I wanted. You achieve the effect by building up layers. It's got a super, super fine sand mixed into that. So we're going to do this in two different ways. We're going to do it with the gritty texture medium, and we're going to do it without. If I can get the lid on, that is. Come on, Phil. There we go. So, various different things I'm going to use. I've got a couple of different die sets because it's nice for you to see how these things look when you change them. So I've got here just a selection. These were things that I'd already got die cut, so I haven't done them specifically. These are things that I'd already got in my little tub. So I've got some cogs there which we know are going to be amazing done in this rusty effect. We've also got the Fabulous Four, and I'll show you the die as I do these. I'll show you the dies so you know what the die sets look like. The Fabulous Four, and we've got the Shabby Dragonfly, and I've chosen the solid Shabby Dragonfly, and then I've got the Shabby Butterfly, but I've chosen the lacy one, yeah, because we can make all of those look rusty. Then we've got a Key and a Lock from the Locks and Keys die set, the Shabby Daisies. So if you haven't got the Shabby Daisies, these are amazing. These are perfect with the rusty effect, because if you look, we've got all that shabbiness, all that texture around the outside of each petal. So I've just got 3 there so I can make 1 flower. We've got the cogs from the Lots of Cogs die set. I've got floaty fronds, just 1 because it was already die cut. And then from the texture dies, I've got the Moroccan. So this is the Moroccan, and I'll show you the dies, as I say, when we get through to doing them. And then the air dry clay, I've already done this ahead of time. Well, actually, that's a fib. These were in my tub. I'd done them ages ago, and I'd saved them. You know, I don't waste anything with air dry clay. So I'd already got these done. And this morning, before I did the video, I've actually done some pipes, but they're not dry enough yet. So I will do these exactly the same way when these have dried, and I will make a card with them on maybe on Monday's Facebook Live. So when I do my live demo on Monday night, so what date is it on Monday? Let's have a look. 15. So Monday the 16th of January, excuse me, at 7 o'clock. I've got my coffee there. So Monday the 16th at 7 p.m. I will have already changed these and made them rusty using the same technique I'm going to do now. And I will make a project with them. And I love that. Look at that. Look at the tap. I love that. Let me show you the die, the mould, while I'm here. And I know I've got the mould out somewhere. Here it is. I'm going to show you these. These are Finnabair moulds. And this one is called Rusty Pipeline. They're all on the website. There is a link in the description. But look at this amazing mould. Oh, that's just fabulous. Can't get it all in the shot. There you go. So I've used various bits from this. I've even used some of the little screws and everything. It's fab for, you know, when you struggle to do men's cards. Man, problem solved there. And this one here is actually from the Pocket Watches. So still a Finnabair mould, and it's from the Pocket Watch set. So for those of you that haven't seen this before, the Pocket Watch set actually gives you bases, look. So it gives you bases so you can create dimensional embellishments, and I just think that's a clever idea from Finn. So we've now got the Pocket Watch base, and I've actually got the clock, which is one of these. Look how much it shrinks, isn't that interesting? Oh, it's that one. Look how much it shrinks though when it dries. How interesting is that? And then that will sit on top. That will sit on top to create a dimensional pocket watch. Anyway, so the Finnabair molds, what we have left in stock, are on the website. Link is in the description to everything for today's video. So you've got quick links to get you straight there. So we're going to start with the greyboard. And I am going to add some texture to the greyboard. Let me just get a drink. My throat's always dry when I start talking. Anybody think I talked a lot? No cheeky comments. So the greyboard, I've got loads of greyboard now on the website, and I'll just show you. It's definitely worth having a look. Greyboard is one of those inexpensive products to buy, but just so many different ways you can use it. So this frame here is obviously this inner part from the outer frame. Have a look at them all on the website. There's loads to choose from. Obviously I've got a clock here as well, but we're gonna add more texture to these. Let me just put that back down there. So in comes the kitchen roll, and I'm reusing kitchen roll I've already got that I've been using, because I save it for everything. Let's do the fleur-de-lis as well. Don't throw away the waste. Like this part here is actually waste, but that would make a fabulous embellishment as well. And then we'll just pop this frame out. I'll try and do it without snapping it. There we go. Come on, Phil. Obviously it's got very delicate bits on the edges. Look at that, isn't that beautiful as well? And again, it's waste. So save that. Let's pop the inside out. And I'll save that. So we've now got three bits of greyboard here that we're going to make look rusty. So prep. Do you need to do any prep? We're going to use the gritty texture medium on this, and there are two ways you can apply the texture medium. Well, three if you include your fingers. So you can dab this on to create a lovely stippled effect, but I'm gonna brush this on with a flat brush. So what that will do, I'll do it and show you. The gritty texture medium does go on off-white as well. It will dry off-white, which is absolutely fine because we're going to paint over it. So I'm just going to put that over the top, and can you see where we've got extra bits going into the grooves? I'm absolutely fine with that. This is what I want with this. So it's going to give us extra texture just by painting this on. So instead of putting it on and stippling it, which is what I've done before, I'm brushing this on. And you know when you get those lovely flaky bits on rusty effect finishes, we'll get that with this. So the more paste you put on, the more texture you're going to get. And this should dry by the time we've done one of the cardstock die cut embellishments. And then we can come back to this. I didn't want to do this ahead of time because then you don't see how I've done it. I wanted to do it live so you can see exactly how I've done it. So I'm not being neat, I'm not being precious with this, I'm literally brushing that on. I'm just going to put a little bit more on where I've held it down with my finger. The more texture you get, the better. This is kind of like your base coat to start from. Like if you were painting, you would put a base coat on, and then leave it to dry before you put everything else on. Just put a bit more on here. That's fab. I'll bring that in and show you in a second. I'm just going to do the, in fact I won't do the clock because the clock's just the same. It's just the same technique. I'll do the fleur-de-lis. I'll save the clock and do it another time. So because this has got a more solid base, you can get more texture on this. You could do this as well, remember, with the cardstock, with the die cut things that I've done. Let's just add a bit more there. You probably won't be able to hear this, but I can actually hear the sand grating on the greyboard. Let's just add a bit more texture. There we go. And I'll pop that to one side and let that dry. Just clean my brush. I'm only cleaning it in water at the side. Don't let it dry on your brushes, because although you can clean them afterwards, it's easier to clean them. It's easier to clean them before. So let me just show you what that looks like. So when we paint that, you see, that's all gonna look like little flaky, rusty bits. So I'll pop that to one side to dry. The frame, I will show you the frame. So you can see, look, we've got a dimension going on there. Don't need to be neat, just slap it on and leave it to dry. So that will give us a different look, because we will have more texture in that. Get a different piece so I don't get the paste on there. And now we'll come to, let's do the cogs first. We'll do the cogs first and then we'll move on. I thought, oh, 3. We'll do the cogs first and then we'll move on to the air dry clay. So let me just show you the cogs die set, because it's amazing as you would expect. So this is my lots of cogs die set, and there are 23 different sized cogs in there. So straight away you've got 23 different sizes, some that mix and match, some that are solid with debossing, and most of them are really decorative. And I love that I've put a bigger one in there as well. So we're just going to do, yeah, lots of cogs. So we're just going to do 3 of these, and we'll give these a base coat now. So before I start, we're going to start with the chalk paints, and we're going to give them a base coat first with the chocolate. So with the Dreamy Chocolate, we're going to give them a base coat, and this dries really quickly, so a couple of minutes and it'll be dry. That is from my finger, by the way, the paint. So we're just going to paint this on, and I'm not putting it on neat, it's literally just a base coat. So we're now changing. You could do this with brown cardstock, so you could start from any colour cardstock and still do the same thing, but the paint obviously adds texture to this as you're putting it on. So if I just show you, well, I'll do the others first and then I'll show you. So I'm not being neat, doesn't matter if bits of white are showing, because we're going to have about 10 layers on this. I'll do that one as well. I will use these, which is why I'm going to do them properly rather than rushing through it. So let's just bring that in and show you. So already that paint is starting to dry. Yeah, you can see where I've been a little bit heavier with it. And before the paint dries, we're going to start adding the other colours. I'm going to clean my brush in between each colour. So do clean your brush in between, because it will contaminate. Doesn't matter if it contaminates, because that's kind of what we want to do today anyway. So I'm going to add a little bit of the red now. So this is Roses Are Red, and Roses Are Red is quite a strong, in fact I'm going to take a bit of that off. It's quite a strong red. I'm just going to add little bits to this. So I'm now just patting this on. And what the red does is it gives us the warm undertone. Before we start adding the orange and the metallics. It's easy, anybody can do this, it's so easy. And you can see what I'm doing here, I'm dabbing this. I'm dabbing this on, so this is how you can achieve texture from paints. I'm going to keep that bit of red there because I'll probably add a bit more in later. So easy to do. Oops. So that is the, twice I've dropped that. Roses Are Red. Just show you how that looks so you can see what I've done. And yes, I know my fingers are going to be filthy, but remember, these paints are water based, so they will just wash off. So can you see how I've put that on? I mean, that's just 2 paints, and already it's starting to look it's just starting to look rusty already. And then we're going to move on to the Perfectly Pumpkin, which is the orange one. And this is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous orange. Let me just get a wipe. This is supposed to be a half-an-hour video, but I'm already 20 minutes in. So it won't be a half an hour, I'll probably be about an hour. But it's worth knowing. It's worth knowing that you can do all these things with dyes that you've already got. And if you haven't, you know where to get them. So I'm still using the same brush. I am cleaning in between, like I said, but I'm not worried about, well, let me show you, look. I'm not worried about all the colour coming off, because I'll give it a proper clean when we've finished. So now with the orange, we're going to start adding even more texture. So I'm not covering everything. I'm just dabbing this on. And this is why it's important to do the layers, because it's the layers that give you the texture when it's finished and gives you the depth of colour. Oops. Just got that on my desk. I'll show you how to do the butterfly and the fauna and everything. It's exactly the same way. It just looks amazing. So what the chalk paints do is, instead of giving you a shiny base coat, they give you a soft, kind of natural base coat. I'm just going to put a little bit more on there. And then I'll show you how that looks. Let's just see how the paste is doing. Yeah, it's drying. It's not quite there yet though. So let's just show you how they look now. If I show you in between each application, you know exactly what you're trying to achieve. There we go. And I'll just show you this one on it's a bit closer, so you can see the amount of paint I've got on there. So now we just need to give that a second to dry before we start adding any metallics. So I'll pop that over there, and what we'll do while we're waiting is we'll replicate that with the rest. So I'll do the lock and I'll do the daisies at the same time as well. So in fact, I wonder if I'll just clean my brush. I was just going to show you how it would look if you did it the opposite way around. So I'm going to change my brush this time for these embellishments. So instead of using my flat brush, I'm going to change to these little stippling brushes. that I've had for years, as you can tell. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So start with the brown, but this time I'm going to do less coverage. And the thing with these stippling brushes is, because I know they're old, I don't worry too much about cross-contamination. So when you've got lacy dies like I have here, it's easier to stipple than it is to brush on. So we're going to create a rusty butterfly. I'm not going to cover the whole thing. I'm going to leave some bits white. Let's just do these as they come. And I'll show you the difference from stippling. So stippling, I've stippled on this rather than brush this on, because most of my dies, as you know, have debossing detail on them, and you would lose the texture. You would lose the texture if you let's just do these while we're here. You would lose the texture if you brush it on. Like here, look, you can see the daisies. There you go. The daisies have that lovely deboss detail. And stippling just gets into all the nooks and crannies. If you were doing this, if you were making a project, which I'm going to do with the rusty pipes and everything, it's worth just doing all this ahead of time. You could have a couple of hours just doing all your rusty embellishments. Oops. In fact, you know what, Phil? Just do all the other bases because it's the same colours you're using. So shall we go clock or shall we go mechanical? Well, you've got two different choices. We've got an actual clock or we've got this lovely mechanical thing. Let's go clock. You definitely need to stipple onto the air dry clay. And for those of you that know me, you know that I am itching to clean my fingers. But I will persevere. So make sure you get into all the bits. So I've still started with the Dreamy Chocolate. And stippling, like I say, gives you extra crunch, gives you extra texture just from being what it is. And anything else I need to do while I'm here? We can't do the greyboard yet because it's not dry. I'm not going to do it. Oh well, let me just tear that down. So we'll do a smaller piece. I'll do a smaller piece. So with the texture dies, because obviously if where it's all open, if I was to put it on here, I'm going to waste half the paint. So I'm just going to do it mid-air. And then the paint that gets caught in between the actual die cut is a bonus. It's just extra texture. Extra texture. It's all about the layers. All about the layers with this. And building up the colour, building up the texture until you get it the way you want it. So I'm just cleaning those. Put the lid on my paint. I'm going to find the lid. Oh, it's here. And then we're going to go red. We're going to go red next. Oops. I know it looks messy, but it's worth it. And it's fun, it's good fun. Not so good fun for my fingers, but it does wipe. But you could wear gloves if you wanted to. So roses are red is what's coming in next. And again I'm stippling. You don't want too much red. It says covering this dragonfly in red. And I'm not going to put patina on this. So if you were doing the copper pipes, for example, which I've got over there drying, like I showed you earlier, if I wanted to put a little bit of patina on there to make it look like it's been a leaky pipe, we would change the colours. But I'm not going to do that with these. These are literally just going to be rusty with no patina. I'll do another video on patina, but it's basically the same techniques, you just change the colours. And remember, you don't need gilding waxes or anything for this. Even when we get to the end, when we do a little bit of dry brushing, we will be using the vintage gold to add the metallic element to this. What comes on next is the gunmetal. Let's see where we're at. I love this. I love that you can take a texture dye and make it look like a metal embellishment. Very clever. So I'm just putting some red on. Just move it away from the light so I can see where I've gone. Just remember when you're doing the texture dyes, just to check the other side, because like here, look, you can see where I've dragged it through. So just make sure you don't get it on your counters. And we'll come back to the, here we go. Just building that up. Building it up. Now you wouldn't think you'd need red in this, but red does give you that fabulous undertone underneath the orange. And let's do this. It's so clever, so easy to do and so clever. To think that we've all bought the paints so that we could do lovely watery backgrounds and paint, just paint as in normal. I won't go mad on the inside because you're not going to see it. Make sure I've got enough red on there. Yep, we're getting there, slowly but surely, slowly but surely. So I'll just clean my brush. And then we'll go in with the pumpkin. I'm just going to clean my fingers. And then we'll go in with the pumpkin. So then the pumpkin now gets to come to the top of it, which then will dull down that red a bit. The red is really quite strong, so if I show you, look, I've cleaned my brush already about 4 times and there's still a fair bit of red coming through. Not going to worry about that. Can clean the brush at the end, and we're now on pumpkin, which is the top colour before we move to metallics. And I'll go in the same order I think I did. So remember, this is why the chalk paints are better for your base coats, because as that's drying, look, you can see it's drying with a matte chalky finish, as opposed to a metallic. We don't want too much metallic in there. We'll add the metallic with the gunmetal and the vintage gold. So now look, the red just starts to sit in the background. That's quite a lot of orange there, but that'll be fine. Stippling, as you can see, is giving us texture as well. And who would have thought this is just cardstock? I'll change this kitchen roll in a minute because you can't see where I'm going. Who would have thought this is just cardstock? And the 3 daisies. I would normally, like here I've just put quite a bit of orange there. I would normally leave these a little bit longer to dry than what I'm doing. I don't want them perfectly dry, I don't want them bone dry. It's actually better to have them a little bit damp so the colours run into each other. Look, who knew Phil Martin could get his fingers dirty like this? I would do it all in one go, like I said, and then everything's done and drying. You can actually see, can't you, just as I'm changing the red and the brown to the pumpkin, you can actually see it starts to look rusty already. Isn't that remarkable? And the fact that it's cardstock just blows my mind. It wouldn't obviously work on really thin card, but I'm using my, as you know, I use my pure white premium card. So let's get this. Oh, that just looks amazing. You have to trust that you're doing it in the right order. This is why I've done the video for you, so you can do the colours in the right order. Now remember, when I've got to this one, I'm not worrying about the middle because this is the base for the pocket watch. So the pocket watch is going to sit on there, the clock face. So I'm not going to worry about, I'm not going to waste my paint. I'll just make sure I've done the bit that's going to be seen. Look how much I love you, like getting my fingers filthy like this. Right, so is that up? Nearly forgot this bit. So I'm not spending as much time as I would normally do on the texture, but I just want to show you how fab these dies look, because the texture dies look amazing when you give them rusty or patina finishes. Just move that to the side so I can see how much orange I've got on. Put that there. And now we're going to move on to metallics. I'm going to change the kitchen roll. I'm going to just quickly wipe my fingers. I promise you, this washes off. I would not be doing dirty crafting if that paint didn't wash off. I don't need that now, so I'll clean that up. So let's just change the kitchen roll to a clean piece before we move on to the metallic paint. And this is where we start to give it that proper sheen. You'll see the sheen from the metallics coming through. And this now is just about getting this how you want it to look. So you could, if you wanted, like for example, if you wanted a new pipe, so like when I do the pipes, if I want it to look like a new pipe, I would miss out some of the colours. I would probably miss the brown off and just go straight into red, orange, gunmetal. I'm going to save that. I'm not going to waste that because we have got to come back to the greyboard. So let's just put that there. And you can see, look, how this is starting to come together. Let me just separate them a bit so you can see, and I'll bring it in to show you. I cannot recommend the chalk paints enough, and I know it's my product, but trust me, they are amazing. The chalk paints are worth their weight in gold. This, if you didn't want to add any metallic sheen to this, so if you didn't want any shiny bits, you would now just keep adding red, sorry, not red, you would now just keep adding the pumpkin and the chocolate. So you wouldn't go in with, I mean, look how fab that looks already. Look at that butterfly, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous. And because we've done the stippling on these, the texture is different. So it's a little bit more crunchy. Let's just see how this is doing. Oh, nearly, it's getting there, look. So that's nearly dry. So you can see we've got flaky bits on there. So if you wanted the flaky bits, yeah, that's fab. If you wanted the flaky bits like you would get on Rush, you know, like sometimes you get the bit that peels off, you would definitely need to go in first with the gritty, the other one, the gritty texture medium, and let it dry. You do it exactly the same way on cardstock. I'm just gonna roll my sleeves up because my fingers are getting dirtier and dirtier. So the sleeves are going up. There we go. Yeah, so if you wanted to do if you wanted any more texture on this, definitely do your base coat with the gritty texture medium, and then repeat what we're doing now. So now we're going to move on to the gunmetal. The last colour we'll put on will be not the Dreamy Chocolate, it will be the Vintage Gold. And then more often than not, once I've done the Vintage Gold, I go back in again with either the gunmetal or the Dreamy Chocolate just to tone it down because I don't want it too shiny. So this is now where we start adding some metallic base colours. And I'm going to go to my stippling brush again and just see if I can get one clean enough. Yeah, there we go. That'll do nicely. Now you can see why these brushes are so well loved. We'll say well loved instead of rotten. I'm glad I'm showing you this because it's a fabulous technique and it's definitely worth knowing. So let's look which is the driest. The key looks quite dry. So the gunmetal, as you can see, has got the metallic shimmer. And it's quite a strong gunmetal look. It's a dark colour. So I'm gonna, bear with me one sec. I've just had an idea that might save us a bit of kitchen roll. I'm gonna bring in another dirty piece, look. I'll put it to this side. And we'll do it over here. So I'm now adding touches of the black, and I don't want to cover this. We are just adding touches. And I'm being very light with this. And I'll bring that in to show you in a second. It looks amazing. That looks amazing. And I know I'm saying it myself, but it does. Let me get a bit of white card. You'll see it better on white card. Let me just show you how that looks. Can you see the pearly sheen from the black? If I wiggle it into the light, maybe. Of course, I've got so many lights up here. Do it a bit further away. Let me bring this closer. There you go. So you can see we've now got the metallic element coming in from the gunmetal. That looks amazing already before I even add anything else. So we'll replicate that. Remember, when you get to the metallics, we're not covering it all, because what would be the point in doing all these base colours if we cover it all? Oops, like I've just done there. We're just doing areas. This is why I'm so glad we've now got the chalk paints, because the chalk paints take this technique to a whole new level that anybody can do. It's basically 5 colours of paint. So I'm being very light with this. And remember, we've not used any ink pads or anything on this. This is literally just paint. And now do you see why we need that red in there? Oh, that daisy looks amazing. Look at that. Look at that daisy. That daisy looks amazing. I love that daisy. I love doing this full stop. So I'm just going to show you on this other daisy here. You can see that that orange, the pumpkin there, is still quite wet. But I'm still going to go over it with the gunmetal. Remember, just be light with it. We're not trying to cover. We're not trying to cover it. It looks. I just love this. Absolutely love that. And all it needs is 5 paints and a bit of time. The shabby daisies particularly look good with this technique. I don't know whether we've got many in stock. I honestly don't know. But the shabby daisies particularly look nice with this technique because of the shabby edge. I'm just so in love with this technique. I'm easily pleased, can you tell? Let's repeat this. So at the minute, all we've done is cardstock and the greyboard. We'll do in a second, because the greyboard we've left drying. So this is literally just cardstock from dyes and the air dry clay. So these paints work on anything. In fact, let me just finish this and then I'm going to show you. Look, I'm getting ideas bouncing in my head. And because we're using paints instead of inks, we're getting texture. Texture is a bonus just because we're using paints rather than inks. Let me finish these and then I'm going to show you the idea I've just had. Oops. Just get a little bit more. You can see how much I'm using as well. I'm hardly using any. Oops, that was a bit too heavy there, but not to worry. Stippling. You could do this with your fingers if you wanted to. Obviously I'm not. I'm not going to do this with my fingers because my little stipply brushes are doing the job just perfectly. Which is why I've not thrown these away. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And then we'll finish off with these few. I'm remembering to do the side of the clock because I've done that before. I've created a whole lovely embellishment and then realised I'd forgot the sides of it, which is just frustrating. And I'm still using, this is still my first pot of the gunmetal. I haven't replaced any of my paints yet. And I use them a lot, as you know. Oops. There we go. I love this. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I'm just doing this to be quicker. Let me just show you this, because you wouldn't believe, let me just tap off any from underneath, you wouldn't believe that that was just plain white cardstock. It looks like a rusty fence already. It's clever. Ignore my stomach if you hear it rumbling. Right, so now we're going to add a little bit of the vintage gold, and we'll finish off by building up the layers as much as we want them to. Yeah, we're doing all right for time. I've been longer than I said I would, but that's par for the course with me, isn't it? I'm showing you properly rather than quickly. So now we're going to add a little bit of the vintage gold. So remember, I've chosen vintage gold rather than gold in the metallics. So vintage gold is a little bit more, it's got like a tint of copper, although it is gold, it's an old gold. And I'm still going to do the stipply effect, so let me just clean that brush. And then we'll finish off by, the way you finish this off is entirely up to you. So I'm going to do it my way, because I quite like to see, like here, look, I quite like to see a lot of the red and the orange from underneath. And this is a personal thing now, so how much metallic you add is entirely up to you. And then you can tone it down. You can tone it down with the Dreamy Chocolate and the Pumpkin. Or, well, you can top it off with any of the colours. So let's just add little bits of vintage gold to this. And the vintage gold is what makes it look like there was a metal underneath. That looks phenomenal. That looks amazing. Let me show you. How amazing does that butterfly look? It's so easy. It's bizarre, isn't it? 'Cause I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I still love these techniques. You might not use them all the time, but it's good to know them. So let's just add a little bit of the vintage gold to the daisies. Just a bit. It's entirely up to you how much metallic you put on. I am going to finish with some red and some chocolate, I think. Maybe all three, I don't know. Oh. I just want them a little bit darker. Let's do them all. Trust the technique, trust the process, as everybody says. Here we go. It won't take me long now. You can see I've hardly used any of the vintage gold. And that just looks amazing. Look at that. How amazing is that? I am going to tone down the sheen on mine because I want it a little bit duller. Now we're nearly done. We're nearly done. Oops. then we'll get onto the greyboard. That's far too much. Oh, this. Oh, Phill. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Amazing. I'm easily pleased, can you tell? Right. I don't, you can't, there you go, look, you can just see the colours in that now. I've moved it to the side. Look at this clock, look at this pocket watch. Oh my word, let me just show you. Wow. Right, so I'm now literally gonna finish with some of the I'm gonna use the, I think I'm gonna use the pumpkin and the dreamy chocolate. I might add a little touch more red, but we will see. Let's see. So clean your brush, Phill, before you carry on, because I want to dull down the metallic sheen just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I'm going to do this in the opposite direction to how we did the original colours. So remember we first started with Dreamy Chocolate, then the Roses Are Red, and then the Perfectly Pumpkin. This time I'm going to go Perfectly Pumpkin, Roses Are Red, and Dreamy Chocolate, and finish off maybe with a little bit of the gunmetal. So this now, you don't actually need to do much more to this, but I do want to dull down that metallic sheen. So I'm literally using, look, the dry bits off the brush. Just to dull it down a little bit. I remember I said to you ages ago, it's all about the layers. It's all about the texture and about the layers of paint. Yeah, that's much better for me. Personal preference, this part. Like if I just show you this, you can see that I've dulled down a lot of that metallic. There we go. You can actually see the texture in that, but I've dulled down a lot of the metallic, which is what I want to do. I won't do it with everything. I'll leave the clock as it is because that looks amazing, but I'll do the cogs. Ooh. I've just put too much orange on that. I've done the dragonfly, I'll just do the cogs and I'll be able to show you the difference, and then you'll be able to decide for yourself how much you want on. The orange and the red are what give it the old look, and the chocolate is what gives it the base colour coat, if you like. So I'm not covering the metallic, I'm just dulling it down a bit. Right, now moving on to the red. So this is Roses Are Red, remember. And Rosenzar red does need to be underneath, which is why it's always in the middle. So the red is always in the middle. So whichever order you put these on, because we've got 3 chalk paints, is always the middle one. Yeah, that's fabulous. Amazing. I hope you're not bored, because I'm loving this. Oh yes, 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 yes. Right, so let's just do the other bits. Oh, it looks fab. You can tell I'm rushing this bit now, but you don't need to take much care when you're doing this part. Just remember not to overdo the red, because it's quite strong, and you don't really see red in rust. You only see different shades of orange, which is basically what we're trying to do. Have I done all 3? Okay, so last but not least, I'm doing a little bit of chocolate, dreamy chocolate. And then I will probably finish, because I know I like it, I will probably finish with a little more gunmetal. Who would have thought that this was cardstock? Oops, far too much, Phil. Take some of that off. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Fab. So remember, the amount of metallic you put on is entirely up to you. It's the metallic should just be showing through, because it's rusty. So basically, rust is the metal gone rusty, old. Wow. And remember, I've not added any patina to this, so there is no turquoise whatsoever in this. That just looks amazing. So what we will get from mine, because I've gone over with the other colours again, we will get less of a gold tint, but you will still get to see bits of it, which for me, I prefer. So that is the chocolate, and I'm now just going to add a little touch, just a little touch of the gunmetal again. And I told you it's not a quick thing. You do need to take time to build the layers up. You can make it quicker by maybe putting thicker paint on and leaving it to dry longer. But I think this is the best way to do it. That's far too much again, Phil. Now that is more like me. That looks incredible. Let me show you. Oh, I've missed the tip of his antenna. Look at that. So if I just bring that light closer again so you can see how much of my metallic sheen I've got showing. Does that not just look like an old rusty dragonfly. Not that you see many old rusty dragonflies, but you get what I mean. So let's just finish these off, and I'll show you them each in turn, and then I'll quickly get on with the other, the greyboard, because greyboard looks fabulous with the texture from the gritty texture medium. Wow. Told you it was easy right at the beginning. Easy, it just takes a little bit of time to build it up. Fabulous. Amazing. I'm a happy bunny because they've all turned out the way I wanted them to. And if you got to this stage and you thought, oh, do you know what, I've made it a bit dull, you can still go back in with your vintage gold and just zhuzh it up a bit, just give it a little bit more of a shiny finish. But I'm finishing with the gunmetal, which obviously does give you a metallic sheen. I'm just going to add a little bit more gunmetal to this. There we go. Wow. Happy with that. Happy with that. In fact, I'm not going to show you them. Let's do the fleur-de-lis first. I won't bother with the frame because we've been just at 1 hour and 10 minutes now, so longer than I thought I would be. So I'll do the fleur-de-lis just to show you, but it's exactly the same technique. So what I'm going to do with the fleur-de-lis is exactly the same as you would do with any of your greyboard frames or embellishments. So let's bring in that dirty one again. So the difference being now is that we can do this in 2 ways. We can brush the paint on because we've got this texture. Can you see? Oops, come back, Phil. We've got that texture there from the paste, and that won't flick off. That will stay where it is. So we can now either paint the paints on, or you can stipple them on. And I'll do, just so you can see the difference, I will paint them on. So it's the same colours, but the difference, in fact I can show you that straight away. You can see the difference straight away by putting the paste on. Can you see, look, we've already got the bumps and lumps and chunks in there from the gritty texture medium. So it is definitely worth doing that. So I'll keep the lid off because I know I'm going to use it again in a minute. So I'm painting this on now, and I'm not being neat, and I'm not letting it dry in between. Don't do what I've just done and contaminate your pots. I'm going to have to clean that now. I should have known better. Naughty Phill. Let me just clean that lid because I don't want the paint to get contaminated. There we go. So a bit of red, a bit of pumpkin, I'll take it out of the pot this time. Just as a word of it, as a little top tip, as a little bit of advice, don't contaminate your paints. So if I, for example, dipped my brush in my dreamy chocolate and then went straight into my orange, my perfectly pumpkin, and left it, the perfectly pumpkin would absorb the chocolate, and it would change the colour of it. If you do that, because accidents happen, if you do that, just quickly scrape out the colour that shouldn't be there. So I'm now painting this on, look, instead of dabbing it on. I don't need to worry about texture, which is why we're painting this rather than... I'll leave that there because I know we'll need it in a second. I'm not letting it dry, look. I'm just going straight in. You can leave it to dry if you want. It's entirely up to you. We are nearly finished, so if you're starting to nod off, I apologise. But I'll only be 5 more minutes maybe. So I'm going to turn that round and come from the other side with the gunmetal. So remember, I haven't let this dry, and I haven't let it dry on purpose because the colours are doing their job for me, look. You can see already, look, that is starting to look rusty just from the few colours I've used. I'll leave that gunmetal there because I know I'm going to use it. We'll come in with the vintage gold. So I'm just coming in with a little touch of the vintage gold, and I'm going to do it in the opposite direction of the gunmetal. Remember, the paints will take longer to dry on the paste. So I'll just show you what that looks like at the minute. So it looks quite metallic-y. So exactly the same process that we did before. So we're going to come back to the orange. So back to the pumpkin. Back to the pumpkin. Oh, back to the red, which I forgot. Don't let me put my brush back in the red. That will do. So a little bit of red and dreamy chocolate, which sounds fabulous right about now. A little bit of dreamy chocolate, let's just take that from there. And then we're going to do the same thing again and finish with the gunmetal. The difference between this and the ordinary ones is visible, but the colours are exactly the same. Just need to leave it longer to dry. So at this stage, look, where I've got two, you can see, look, where it's coming together. We've got some gold, some red, some orange, some brown, some black from the gunmetal showing. So I would leave that to dry. In fact, I might give it a quick blast because I want you to see the difference. I'll just give that a quick blast with my heat tool. I'm just unplugging my phone, so if it wobbles, apologies. Just plugging the heat tool in. So you can force dry this. I wouldn't. If you know me, you know that I always recommend leaving things to dry naturally, but you don't want to be waiting another 10 minutes. So I'm on the low heat, so on the low speed. Just give that a helping hand. But it looks fab already. Oh yes, that looks amazing. That looks fantastic. Wow, I'm going to leave that there. Wow, 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 wow. I'm easily pleased. So now we're just going to do the same as we did with the others. We're going to add a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit more of the vintage gold on, I think, because I've blended it all in. So a little bit more vintage gold. So almost dry brushing the vintage gold on. Oh my word, wait till you see this. It's fantastic, Phill. Too much paint, I'm going too giddy. Let me just show you this. I've just put too much on there, but I'll dull it down with the gunmetal in a minute. Wow, wow, wow. How amazing is that? And again, you know what I'm going to do? You know I'm going to dull it down with the gunmetal because that's my personal preference. You could absolutely leave it like that. I'm going to finish in a second by just showing you everything that we've done. I'm just putting a little bit more of the gunmetal. Almost like a dry brush, even though my paintbrush is wet. That looks fantastic. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I'm happy with that. So let me show you. Oops, where are you, Phill? So how amazing does that look? So it's definitely worth, let me just bring in one of the gears, for one of the cogs, for example. So the difference between the paste, so can you see the fleur-de-lis has got the gritty texture medium on first to give us the texture. So, I mean, the cog looks amazing. But so does the fleur-de-lis. So depending on how much texture and crunch you want, depends on which product you use, but I think they both look fantastic. So I'm going to just show you on the cardstock how everything looks. So let's just try and put this daisy together. Just remember as well, my paints are flexible. I never thought to tell you that. Where's my stamping mat? Oh, I don't know where you've gone. Where would you be if you were a stamping mat? Here you are. In fact, I'm going to get my dirty one. Bear with me a second, everybody. Because I've got two stamping mats. And one of them is a dirty one. So I'm just going to show you, you can still create your flowers normally. Where would you be if you were a shaping tool? You would be in the toolbox, of course you would. So let's just shape that up. So my paints are flexible, so this is not going to ping and flick off. Even once it's dry, it won't ping and flick off. In fact, I'll just stick this together so you can see what it looks like. Oh, and earlier on in the video, I did say, oh, I'm going to show you in a minute, and I forgot. Missed one. And what I was going to show you is that you can take all your pearls as well. So any of your pearl embellishments, it doesn't work so much on the gems, but on the pearls, yeah. So if you were going to change one of your pearls to look rusty, I would tell you to treat yourself to the Spearmint Waves. So Spearmint Waves is in the Ombre collection. Oh, we've got some now, I've told you that. And Spearmint Waves, if you look, has got that lovely rusty with the patina colour already, the turquoisey colour. And you would do it in exactly the same ways. You would leave it to dry in between layers because the paint will take longer to dry on a non-porous surface. Common sense tells you that. But it does dry on non-porous surfaces like glass and acetate. Just get that in the right place. Come on, Daisy, do as you're told. There we go. This looks gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. I've only done that just to show that you can still... There's no point us making flowers if we can't shape them. So let's show you one by one everything that we've made. So the daisy. So you can see we've still got, I'm just going to bring that light a little bit closer. So we've still got some metallic sheen, but just enough for me. And that looks proper rusty. So that was the daisy. Then I'll show you the cogs. So that is the cogs, and remember that was plain white card. All of this was plain white cardstock. So that is the cogs. Aren't they just fantastic? So that is the cogs. I'll leave them there because I'll take a photo for the thumbnail. Then I'll show you the daisy and the dragonfly. And I chose these were already cut out. Remember I said at the beginning. So I haven't cut these specifically for this demo. These were just things I already had cut out. But I wanted to show you how it looks good on the solid, which is the dragonfly. And on the the butterfly, which is the lacy one. How gorgeous are these embellishments? So that is the butterfly, the dragonfly. We've then got the lock and the key, which I just think are phenomenal. So we've got the lock and the key, and you can see, look, on the lock we've got a little bit more of the orange and the red showing, so it looks even more rusty. And you can control that. You're in control of how much colour, how much of each colour you put on. Just wiggle that a bit, because I want you to see the shimmer on the key. There you go. Don't they look gorgeous? And then we've got the pocket watch, which I will just stick together because I will use this possibly on my demo on Monday night. So X22. Wow. Wow. Let me just pop that in the right place. Just holding it for, look, it's all dry. I'm just holding it for a second till the glue grabs. Oh my word, look at this. And that is the air dry clay pocket watch, using the Finnabair molds, the pocket watch. Is that not just absolutely stunning? And then the last thing I need to show you is the texture die. So the texture die is the Moroccan. You can't really see the colours so well on that because it's difficult to see under this light. Oh, there you go. But even that looks rusty, like a rusty fence. So there you go. I'll do a quick thumbnail of these for the video headshot, just so you get to see. Oh, forgot. Let's just show you that again. The fleur-de-lis with the gritty texture medium. So the difference between using the gritty texture medium and not is the extra texture that you get there. Well, you're going the wrong way, Phil. Why are my lights rubbish today? There we go. I mean, they all look fantastic, don't they? So whichever way around you do it, it will work. So hopefully you've enjoyed that demo. It's something that I wouldn't normally have time to do on a Facebook Live, which is why I thought I'd do this as a special how-to video. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please remember, if you haven't already, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which if you're watching, I'm assuming you already have, but if you're a new follower and you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, fill in your email address, and then you'll be notified every time I do a new video or go live on YouTube, which I do on Monday evenings at 7 PM. You can also ask to join my Facebook group, which is also called Crafting with Phil Martin and Sentimentally Yours. A fabulous group of crafters in there, loads of inspiration. We do freebies in there, we do giveaways, we do what else do I do? We do the the monthly challenge. So there's loads going on in the Facebook group as well, so please do ask to join the Facebook group. And for those of you that are on Twitter, you can follow me, Phil M. Martin, on Twitter. You can also follow me on Instagram with the same name, Phill M. Martin. And please, please, please do like and follow my brand, Sentimentally Yours, on Facebook. And there you go. I think that's everything. So thank you very much, everybody. That's the wrong button, Phill. I need to get rid of that button. Everything that I've used today, assuming it's in stock, will be available on my website, which is honeypotcrafts.co.uk. I have put links to everything in the description, so it makes it a little bit quicker for you. But what a fabulous hour and a half creating these gorgeous embellishments. So thank you very much, everybody. Remember to get your chalk paints and your metallic paints before the new colours come out later in the year. We do sell them individually or in sets of 5, which does make it a little bit easier for you. I've put the sets together so that they are cohesive, and it just makes it easier if you struggle with colours. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I'll see you on Monday evening for our Facebook YouTube Live, 7 PM. Bye.